I like to reference the game Jumanji because I feel it like everything in business is like the Jumanji game. And I imagine myself like as the avatar that pops in and tries to like help the players, make their way through because it's hard to exit that game. And that's exactly what happened to me. I fell in love with the strategy and science of archetypes
Mm-hmm.
and understanding that how if I showcase that to the world, other people can resonate with that because we all understand archetypes at this core level. We all understand a mother or a caregiver or, an explorer. So that's how long story short, that's how I found my way through this. And through that, I started to really get into designing and creating and using archetypes as a way to help people tell their stories.
Oh, this is so genius. And I wish I would have thought of describing the entrepreneurial journey as Jumanji, because it is both like it is so beautifully intriguing, mysterious, exciting, so many new worlds, right, that you explore it at the same time. It's so scary. And so you never know what kind of surprise waits for you behind the next turn in business. So I thought that was such a beautiful reference that you made. And I know that yesterday already that that's one of your strengths, is that with your branding and with the stories that you tell, you often find these really, really beautiful pictures. And I was wondering, is that your intuition, or how do you surface them? Because they're so universally true. And when you just were mentioning Jumanji, I was immediately understanding the whole idea that you had and all the spectrum of feelings associated with it.
Yeah. So, well, being an intuitive person, yes, I would say that, we all hear about intuitive intelligence or trusting our gut or things like that. And, people talk about alignment a lot. And these are all like concepts that I think we've all experienced and we maybe just don't always know we're experiencing them. So when I found my way through this archetypal journey and identifying with the explorer, it just felt like I was seen for the first time. And it was like if someone told you, Evelyn, you have brown hair. I think, is that your natural color hair? Like, Evelyn, you have brown hair. Yes, that is true. Like when something feels true and fits, that is that alignment feeling we're going for. And so using our intuition, I guess, in a way, is that check with ourselves. And sometimes that intuitive voice is very small and quiet. So, we don't always hear it, but there is generally I say more people have a feeling. And when something feels off, when you walk into a room and maybe it doesn't feel right. So that's where I let my choices in branding and business. I always trust that, because when I haven't, oh man, but they're all learning experiences. So I'm okay with learning and growing. But yeah, I think in Jumanji, if we want to reference that again, how like a lot of fear comes up for people in scary and uncertainty, and fear will always like overshadow like that intuitive knowing. So that's why too, I think a lot of people are afraid to fully express themselves in their brand, in their identity, because it's like, what if people don't like me or this?
Yesterday, from your story, I was discovering something about you. I learned something new about you, which was that you actually function really well in uncertainty, right? I would love if you could tell that story again, because it is based on your upbringing, right?
Yes.
And I think that that's one of the beautiful things that you contribute, is helping people to embrace the uncertainty like a little bit more. So if you could please share that again, I think it's beautiful.
Yes. I grew up with a single mom and we moved a lot. I changed schools a lot. Everything was always new. And through that, I dealt with a lot of, I have to fit in. I have to look at my surroundings and match the people, the clothing, the way they talk, what they're interested in. And I felt like I had to just be this chameleon in my younger years. And so it was all about fitting in and being liked. And that was who I was and my identity at that time as a survival probably mechanism. And, moving around a lot, you do have to kind of have self-preservation, to just have a thick skin and be like, it's okay, I've got this and it's going to be all right, soothing yourself and talking a lot through the anxiety of it all. Cause it's rough being a new kid in school, right? So once I became, older and I kind of was like, but who am I really? I had one of those like, wait a minute, I don't know if you know that song by Talking Heads, and it's like, this is not my beautiful life. This is not my beautiful wife. I don't like, how did I get here? And I had one of those moments where I was in a marriage to a great guy, really nice guy, had the perfect life, great house, 2 dogs, Mercedes, living it up by the beach. But I was like, wait a minute, who am I? And that's when I went on this kind of soul-searching journey of discovering who I really was. And I took a big risk and left it all, moved out of state, knowing nobody really in a different state. But there was always this feeling of one, I was on an adventure. So that was exciting because that's part of my DNA. And 2, I had this knowing, when I drove through, I ended up moving to Colorado where I met my now husband. And when I was driving through the mountains, the Rocky Mountains, if you've ever seen them or seen pictures, they're majestic and it's like grounding energy. It feels so good. And I was like, I'm home, And so having uncertainty shift into a feeling of home and safety and this is right felt really good for me at the time. And I also learned that is I can take a risk and it can pay off. Not all the time, maybe, but I think I programmed myself to believe that it's okay to take risks at that time.
That's beautiful. Was that also the time when you first got into entrepreneurship, or how did that happen?
Well, my first real big business, I started in 2005. But before that, I had started a dog walking business. My aromatherapy business, I started with a friend of mine. So it's been over 20 years, but that is kind of the start. I took a big risk before I moved, flew to Bali by myself. Everybody in my family was like, why are you going to Indonesia by yourself? My dad offered to go with me. And I'm like, no, I think you would hurt my chances of being safe rather than me going by myself. But I went and I knew nothing about the business I was in for the next 13 years, clothing, manufacturing. But I took I don't know, I just had this feeling again, I should do this. And I did it. I went by myself. I figured it out. Everything lined up where the guy who picked me up at the airport, my driver was like, why are you in Bali? And I said, to make clothing. And he's like, where? And I said, I don't know. And he said, I know people, and opened the door to an opportunity that then they became my family in Bali. They helped me navigate a world I didn't understand of clothing manufacturing. So again, I took this risk and it paid off. So that was the start of my bigger entrepreneurial journey, I would say, my more serious entrepreneurial journey.
So before you left California and went to Colorado, were you already working as an entrepreneur, or was that
Yes.
something that started later? Okay.
No, I already, yeah. I left the corporate world. Well, I was not cut out for that, but yeah.
Do you think that growth that happened to you as you started to grow into your entrepreneurial shoes was an accelerator for breaking away all the things in your life that weren't a good fit?
Yes. Interesting that you put that together. Oh, wise one. Yes, it was a accelerator, because when you decide you're going to be an entrepreneur, and that for me, it was I am going to be this. There's no going back, because I didn't want to do any of the things that I had been doing before. And I knew that, kind of a part of me would die if I had to. So it changes you. It's almost like there's that metaphor about the butterfly. I don't know if anyone saw a recent video that was done, but it's not just the caterpillar becoming the butterfly. It's the cells within the caterpillar start getting overtaken by butterfly cell. Like it's this whole thing that I never even understood before, but it's like,
It gives me goosebumps.
I know. When I saw the video, I was like, this is how it feels. It's like something starts like growing inside you. Evelyn, is that how it felt for you? Like something starts like stirring and growing and then it just takes over. But there is a fight, right? The caterpillar's still fighting the cells of the butterfly. So there's still this, am I becoming this? So I don't know. It's a little uncomfortable. What's happening? Change, right?
I mean, it feels like dying, right? It feels like, and the caterpillar is actually like gone, right? So it's like you want to be a butterfly, but then you also don't want to be dead. So.
Yeah, there's like this survival thing that happens. Yeah. And so I knew that like no matter what, I either had to make this work or something else. And that's a motto I have, this or something better, in dating and everything. I've always used that as kind of my like, get through this affirmation. And it's exciting too, but it can also be like super scary, like you're skydiving, jumping out of a plane. But that was, since I had already decided that before I moved, I think the moving part wasn't as scary and overwhelming.
So the real thing was actually happening before that metamorphosis. I mean, I understand what happened to your relationship, but how did also your immediate family react to it? Was that something that people just couldn't understand what's happening right now?
Yeah, I have a very supportive family and they're great. My parents are both passed, but I always felt like the total black sheep in my family, not like severe, like I'm the punk rocker and they're like, not, but I just wanted different things. Like where my older sister was settling down and having kids very young, I was like, let's go and travel the world. And, I think I looked at my family and like, well, I don't really relate to them. And so when I left, I don't think it was much of a surprise, but I think they were concerned and worried and, they knew me as the free-spirited one. So I, definitely was missing my friendships that I had, but I also knew that there's, with one door closes, another door opens. And that's in so many better ways. That is exactly what happened to me when I moved. I got introduced to a new community. I found what I needed as an entrepreneur and just as a person that was on a journey of growth. It was good to kind of be out on my own though and have that like, I'm going to do this on my own experience. I think I was at a point in that time where I needed to prove something to myself.
Was there ever like a moment of, I regret all of this, I burned down my ship, I'm not sure if this is going to work, and when that all that happened, if it did, when was the morning after the fight where you were like, I actually think I'm going to survive this and I actually think I'm going to make it?
Did I have fleeting moments of thinking, like doubting? Sure. But there's something within me, I don't know, and we were touching on this yesterday, where it doesn't matter what's going on in my life. I'm like, okay. Like I don't freak out too much. I'm not perfect, believe me, but there's a groundedness that I've been able to, I don't know, inherit. I don't know where it came from, but I just always trust that I'm going to be okay.
That's so beautiful. So you went on the journey and there were ups and downs, but you always knew I'm going to make it and I'm not going to stop.
Yeah, because I knew that like we all have choices, right? So if you make a choice and it doesn't work out, all right, then I'm going to make another choice, So I don't know where that came from. And maybe it was kind of the challenging childhood I had of having to deal with a lot in my mother's turmoil and everything, that just something within me was like, you're a fighter, you're going to get through this. You've got what you need, or if you don't have what you need, you'll fight it. So some resilience and resourcefulness, I think.
yesterday you shared two things with me that I thought so beautiful. One was about the sign and the psychic lady that actually taught you how to ground, like practically. I would love if you could share that. And then also this, yesterday you mentioned stacking evidence. And I would just love if you could share this again, because I thought it was so beautiful and insightful.
Yes. Thank you for that reminder. So when I was still living in California and I was kind of going through this self-discovery of like, who am I? Like Zoolander moment when he's looking in the pond. You see, I watch a lot of movies, Evelyn. So I knew, like, I was reading books, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Marianne Williamson, all these like spiritual people that was my start in my journey. And I knew that like there was something else though I needed help. Like, I'm like, okay, well, I'm reading all these things, but how do I integrate, or how do I take what I'm learning, right, and apply it in my life? And I'm driving down the street and I'm like, I just want like a sign. Like I want some kind of sign that's going to help me or know what to do. And at that point in my life, I didn't have a lot of like certainty, like confidence in myself to guide myself, because that was just beginning. And I saw a sign and it's like, the answers are within you, or everything you need is within you, something along those lines. And it was psychic advisor. I think her name was Sonia, psychic advisor. And I'm like, wait a minute, that is so weird that I just said that. And I look over and there's a neon sign, that all your answers are within, and that it's a psychic, like on a street, that seems so out of a movie or something really crazy. But she helped me actually like learn to go within, learn to start to understand meditation and journaling and like being quiet with myself so I could hear the wisdom and the guidance, because I was like, somebody just tell me what to do, kind of, it was so like fresh and new in the world. And so I think for me, that was really exactly what I needed. The universe was like, here you go. And even though it kind of showed up in a form I didn't expect it in, that's what really helped me to understand how to kind of quiet the mind and journal my thoughts and everything that I was thinking, and having that space for myself to listen to my own guidance and wisdom. And, I still trust it, Evelyn. It's still like, I'm still trusting myself, even though I've been doing this a long time. There's always the little committee. We talked about the boardroom with the voices that all have an opinion. But, I know that when I have a declaration, or I'm going to do this, or I need this, and then like things show up or people show up, it just proves to me, like you were saying, the evidence file, it always proves to me that yes, things work out. The resources, the people, the opportunities are always available, always available. You just have to open your eyes and look. And so that's what I refer to as my evidence file. If like something's not certain or I'm doubtful, I'm like, well, let's pull the file out and remember the times where you were in this situation before and you found the solution, or the solution found you, and just learning to trust that.
I think those are so many beautiful things. And when I met you, I think we were immediately vibing in the coaching calls. I loved how deep I could go on discussions with you. And I also I felt absolutely attracted to the lightweightness and playfulness and curiosity that you had. That was something that always made me want to keep talking with you. And those were times, when my coaching calls could also be like longer with one person, and I had to be reminded there are other people on the call, because you and Nicole are going on your own journey over here. I always remembered that so beautifully. And then when I saw you doing what you did with the brand, and we had those templates in our membership that my beautiful co-founder, Jessa Bellman, she is a think design genius, right? Everybody loves all of her designs, including me, her offer brands, her beautiful layouts, her font choices, just so gorgeous. And we have those templates to help our members, and they all look very, very similar, right? Because it is templates. And I felt that what our members are missing is kind of that vision on how to make it theirs. So I decided to reconnect with you again when I saw your design work and the design work that you did for clients, and everything was so distinct and everything felt so new and everything felt so right. Like you said, right? So it felt like, oh yes, this feels like cohesive and like it's an integrity in itself. And then I look at this other thing you make and it also like stands completely in itself. And you could clearly see the client already shine through. So I reached out to you and I was wondering if I could bring this quality somehow into the membership so that our members could utilize the template to the max and make it truly theirs. I'm sharing all of this because I think that what you have with your intuition, with your playfulness, it is also uniquely enabling people to do that. And through the process, they're finding themselves. I would love if you could speak more to how you help people connect with your vision, so tangible as kind of a Trojan horse. You start with doing this for your business, but actually you're getting really getting to know yourself and you're really becoming yourself, right? So you kind of also are an accelerator for that caterpillar and, to unfold their own wings. And everybody turns like out so completely differently colored, I feel.
Yes. Well, it does start like my own journey. It starts with like getting to know yourself. Like, who are you? What are your values? Like, what's your, like the real you? If no one was watching and it wasn't about money or being successful, like, what are you doing? What do you love? And how are you being? And I think that's so important and so not taught by a lot, in the world, in the marketing world, because we see what we see and we're like, oh, I should be like that, right? We just want the ticket to success. So we think we'll just use that same ticket. And as you mentioned, like with the templates and things like that, like it's like, oh, I'll just put my stuff and plug it in. But then we lose some of like who they are, the personality. So I like people to go on a little exploration as you experienced in the workshop we did together. Your intuition, it can be one of those elusive conversations or experiences. But when you take out the kind of the business part of it and make it fun, like I used a closet metaphor for you to really look at what you like, you're drawn to, what things you would surround yourself with, colors and textures and emotions and tastes and smells, and make it a whole like outside of a business experience, more of a sensory experience and an adventure, I guess, an adventure. Then I think it peels away all the like expectations and also that like preconceived notion of what we think we're supposed to look like and be like and sound like online. So I like for people to tune into their like creative inner child, playful self, because when you are being creative, that is being spiritual. Like those two words to me are very similar. You're in touch with your spirituality, your inner self, your higher self, the wisdom within you. And that person knows a lot. So trust that person that you maybe don't talk to very often. And I think I mentioned to you once before how important the grounding is in my work with people, no matter who I'm working with, because it gives you that presence of being right in the now, not in the future, not in the past, in the now, because like I say, it's like a telephone. Your intuition's like a telephone calling you. And if you're not home, you can't answer the call to get the messages or the downloads or the information. So if you're wondering, what should I be doing in my business? Oh my God. And you're like worrying and projecting into the future, intuition's like knocking at your door trying to help you, and you're too busy like worrying about something in the future and you're not home. So those are like the kind of the long and short of the answer, Evelyn. Did I clarify that for you?
I think what I'm trying to get at is, why does it help you so much to help people when you start by giving them what they think they need and then they explore what they actually need? Because I feel like that is what you have managed to do with being the brand strategist, is that people come to you because they think they need to nail the visual appearance of their business, when in reality they need to start being connected with their intuition and starting to build and make decisions from that place.
Yes. Okay. Got you. So I guess it could be a easier way for people to get to the end result that they don't know how to get to, because we get so caught up in overthinking everything. So if I were to say to you, Evelyn, okay, let's create your visual brand identity, and what colors do you like? And, like you would be kind of like overwhelmed by decisions and maybe not really picking things that like are true for you, but maybe you've seen them somewhere else. And so I think what I'm trying to help people do is go on this inward journey of like, what are your values? What is your personality? Who are you? And how is that not matching currently in your brand? So like, I want people to really like kind of look at the mirror of themselves through their brand and see, is that really representing you? Is that really like who you are at your core? And if they don't know who they are at their core, I want to help them go in, because it can be kind of scary, especially in a world where we're told a lot of things and a lot of rules. If you're in marketing, you should really look like this, and your colors should be this, and it should be professional and polished and all of this. But when you're looking through Instagram or scrolling through socials, the people that generally catch your eye are different, right? There's something unique or special or different about their ad or their photo or whatever that draws you in. And that's why I think, if someone isn't really in tune with themselves in that deeper way, how are they attracting the right people in that they really want to work with, right? And I think that's where I went wrong, or not went wrong, but that's what I didn't understand years ago, is like, I just wanted to work with everybody. And then there's like, well, I'm not really a fit for everybody though. Like, I am not that person for everybody. So I need to really like go back to, who am I and what do I love to help people with? What's my secret sauce that is different about me that I can bring forth in my brand and my messaging, that other people are like, oh, there's something different about her. And I like that. I resonate with that, because that's what it's about, is the energy, right? Mm-hmm. The energy and the frequency and resonating with something where you understand on a deeper level. And that's where it all is. It's inside here.
That's really beautiful. And I think especially the attracting the right type of people is so important. And I believe especially if you're a personal brand, how do you think the visual brand identity should be different for like a personal brand and maybe a corporate brand? And what solves, or what, when you have figured out your visual identity as a personal brand, what did you solve in your business?
One of my professions as an entrepreneur, I was a love mentor. So I was helping women and men, mostly women though, really love themselves so that they could find a loving, healthy relationship. And I loved doing it. I did the personal work and the inner work and the healing and everything. But women struggle, or people struggled with attracting the healthy, right people, because of all the stuff we have, the beliefs, right? And the stories we have, and what the work I did with them. And this is through someone else's work. I was a certified love mentor. She taught us a technique where you embrace your diamond self. So this is the you that has no stories about limitations or any. It's like the best version of you possible. So when you think of a diamond, right, it's the shiny, perfect version of you. And we even would come up with a name like, Luscious Linda or whatever they wanted to come up with their name, right, for their diamond self. So that's what I'm hoping or my goal is working with someone in their brand is that truest, purest, best self to shine through in their branding. And it can look so many different ways, Evelyn. It can be dark and moody or bright and neon. Like your true self is different from it. I mean, that's what, like, we're like fingerprints, right? We're all so unique and different. So that part is like, I want your diamond self to show up in your branding. No matter how weird or quirky you think it is, there's people that be like, yeah, she's my girl right there, And as we saw in the brand essence workshop, so many different personalities and styles and came through in these brand essence boards that you and I were like, oh my gosh, they all look so different.
And I got such a good idea of everyone just from looking at those, right? And there are things that immediately resonated with you. So that was really beautiful. And I've never seen such a large variety because I'm seeing so many brands like every single day, like visually from all ends. I've never seen so much richness and depth in all directions. It was really, really beautiful. So from my feeling after the workshop, I had people being extremely excited and very clear. And I had a few people that were still very stuck. I'd love to explore with you who's the person that struggles the most with the vision for their brand and the vision for their business. And what would you say to that person? Or if the listener is that person, what tip can you give them?
Yes, great question. So one, I think there's an opportunity to go a little deeper. So if they're stuck, there's something that they're not going and investigating and connecting to. And, that's where I'd say, let's go back to when you were like 5 years old, or pick a time in your life where you felt your best, most playful, creative, amazing self. And it could be in your 20s or something, right? It doesn't have to be a child timeline. So I would help them kind of like be free to explore how that felt and who they were then and what were they doing. And, I did this with a friend of mine recently, and she's like, oh, I was writing stories. I was like writing books and I was super creative in my writing. And I'm like, and why aren't you doing that now? So it helps someone kind of go back into themselves a bit and get in touch with the time where they maybe were at that place where they felt very connected to themselves and their creative energy and their playfulness. And that like helps like break down a lot of the overthinking, over analyzing, because that's the other way people get stuck is either they're not in connecting with that part of them, that truest part of them, or they're overthinking everything. Like, I like this blue, but I don't know if I want it to be a dark blue or like a royal blue, or, you're just like, you just kind of take a step back. And, I try to like help them see that there's no perfect color. It's more like what color feels right for you. Like, what color would you put on and wear for the day? What color would you buy to decorate your, walls in your kitchen, or, like feel into that. So get out of the overthinking, the analyzer, as I call it, because this part where we live, we're like really limiting ourselves by just staying here. And just for the record, everybody, this is good at like solving math problems and like logic thing, but it's not good at sifting truth. It's not good at sifting your truth. Your intuition, your intuitive intelligence is the sifter, the mother sifter, the master sifter that will say yes or no or maybe, right? If you're not there yet, if you don't have the information or the, you need some time to process, but you usually get a definite yes or no when you use that.
What do you see happening for people typically that are good listeners or learn to listen really, really well and sift really, really well, and the people who don't? How do you see it sometimes when you meet people? Like, is it an immediate, like, I can see that?
Yeah.
And especially in entrepreneurs, what do you typically see happening?
Yeah, I'm sure you see that all the time too, because you do process a lot of questions and overthinking and all of that. For me, I think it does go back to the people that really know themselves, know what they like and don't like, right? Know what's for them and don't. Like, there's something to be said about those people that are very like direct and blunt about, like, they're like, no, that's not for me. Like, they know. And I'm like, right on, good for you. The people that are, struggle with that, I feel like it goes back to, there must have been something that happened to them, or this feeling of being wrong, or, there's lots of things that could have happened. And I love for people to really, be like, okay, I'm overthinking this, or I'm not sure, and get grounded. First of all, put your feet on the floor, take some breaths, let go of all that thing, and find that space where you can just ask yourself a question or journal some questions, and who am I? What do I want? What lights me up? Just kind of like break out of the stuff that gets in our way and have that space for yourself to get like reacquainted with yourself. Meet yourself again.
If you were to lose this business tomorrow, right? So no email list, everything was deleted. Do you think you could grow it again like this quickly? And would you grow the same business, or would you start another completely new adventure?
Ooh. Whoa. Okay. Well, right now I don't feel like I've gotten to the place I want to be. So I would, if I lost everything right now, I'd be really sad, and I'd want to restart for sure, because I feel like I'm still in the shallow end, Evelyn. I'm still like in the little kiddie pool and I haven't made it yet into deeper waters. So I would I'll definitely do this all again. But I also am learning things, and with your help as well, and your coaching and mentoring, because there's moments where I doubt myself and what I should be doing, and how to do it or how to help people. And that's what I love about you, is you kind of like see it, right? And you're good at the micro problems and all that, because I just want to make everybody have a pretty brand. But like, how do I talk to those people? How do I get them to listen and all of that? So I think, to answer your question, yes, I would do exactly what I'm doing now. And I would just be a bit more strategic, like you've been teaching all of us and me, to be with that problem solution and speaking to the ideal client.
How would you recommend to the person listening that wants to grow? How can they best integrate their intuition and playfulness with that ambition, and kind of, it's like two different energies, right? So one is very ambitious, very driven, very impatient, and the other one just wants to run around and create stuff and be happy. And I believe that there is a balance. Would you recommend trying to find that? And if yes, how would you recommend going about it?
Yeah. Easier said than done, right? No, I think for all of us, though, there's something that we love and lights us up. So find that thing that you're really passionate about, even if it doesn't relate to your business. Say you love painting, but you're a financial planner helping people with their, finances. Like, give yourself space to be creative, because in that creative energy, actually on a chemical level, you are stirring things up, right? You're fueling the fire, stoking the fire, so to speak. And your Kundalini energy, if you want to go into the spiritual. And in that creative energy place, it kind of like breaks through some of the stuckness or the stagnancy or the seriousness. It's almost like a atomic blast of like, I feel so like, when you do something you're passionate about and fun, even if it's working out or something for you, you feel refreshed and reset. So I would encourage people to always make sure in their day, there's some small, like fun, passion reset that you get, because otherwise I feel like we're just draining our batteries every day. Right. And that's why we're burnt out. And, I've been there. I've been a burnt out person because I was doing something and it was draining me and I wasn't finding the thing that filled me up. And creating was the thing that filled me up, like being creative. And that's why I was like, oh, I got to do this like all the time then. So people might even find that maybe they're not doing the thing that they really want to be doing through this experience or this journey inward, is maybe they're not in alignment with what they're doing.
I believe, especially, I meet many people because they bought my program, right? So at one point they told themselves, this is what I want to do. But they might have looked at the results like, oh, I want a similar result, but do I want a similar path? And do I want a similar life, right? Because that comes with the result. What comes attached is, so almost like, if you want a certain physique, you have to eat a certain amount of protein every single day, and you have to not eat a certain amount of carbohydrates every single day. So it's like, you want the body, but do you also want to have the food or the food with that? And I think that that's something people come into the thing because they probably like want the results, but aren't really wanting the actual lifestyle, right? I'm trying to not do a lot of lifestyle marketing because I actually don't want to give people the impression that it looks a certain way. And so I think that some people really rush to getting things done because they don't even want to take the time to reflect.
Yeah.
Am I doing what I ultimately want to be doing? So using those intuitive exercises, I think, also are a beautiful gateway into, you sorting your visual brand, and at the same time you realizing which of the things that I'm doing right now are not aligned, right?
Yeah.
Or how would I need to approach this strategy in a way that it is aligned. And the same tools that they use for the branding, the same things that you taught me with, for example, the intuitive compass, the exercise you can use it for the same, like, the strategy that is taught here.
Yeah.
Is that like, do I want to do it like this, or do I want to do it in a different way? So I think that's the beauty of the tools that you have, is they are creative, and it is easy to let go for a little bit because designing around on your brand is fun, right?
Yeah.
And you feel you're creative, but also you're allowing yourself to be creative because you're productive, kind of.
Yeah.
And then that opens you up to approaching all the other things also with a certain sense of playfulness. That's probably the biggest secret value that this branding work is adding for people, in the way that you uniquely do it because of all the crazy experiences in your life that have led to that. If I can give you that as feedback, I think that's so tremendously valuable, what you've added for people and what they have created and how they have been showing up since they have created this. Because I truly think what you do is activating maybe a little bit of that butterfly gene in some caterpillars.
Oh, I hope so. That would just make me so happy. And when you talked about the compass, I think I missed highlighting this, is the compass is programmed with your values as well as everything else. So when doing, this kind of highlights when we're in alignment, when you're living your values, when you're showing up in your values, like think about your home and like the books you have or the things around you. They're reflections of what you value, right? And if your business is not reflecting what you value, then your compass is going to just be spinning and it's not going to show you the direction that you want to go. So I think that this is all just the holistic being that we are, which is a very complicated holistic being. But when you get to the core of it, it is simple when you just know who you are in that deep level and trust that, you're growing, your brand's growing. It's okay if it's like not quite there yet, because you're more and more, it's like the aperture on a camera, more and more gets revealed the more and more you see yourself and learn about yourself and grow, that the picture just gets wider and brighter. And we talked about that on one of our calls where like you're walking along your path and you're like, oh, these are new things. Oh, it's brighter over here. Oh, look at these trees. And there's a story unfolding. So allow yourself that experience. It doesn't all have to be figured out at once. You don't have to all be figured out at once. The story is unfolding, and enjoy the beauty and the magic in that.
That was beautiful. And Nicole, thank you so much for your time. You have brought a checklist, a free checklist for everyone. Maybe you could let us know what that is. And then please also let the person listening know where they can find you and connect with you.
Yes, thank you. So I have a brand reboot checklist, and it kind of is an organized way to keep track of everything on your rebranding adventure, and even maybe some things you haven't thought about. But it's great, handy Google sheet for you. You can get it in the link below. And then on Instagram, you can follow me at Divine Flow Creative, or Facebook, Divine Flow Creative. And if you're in any of Evelyn's memberships, I just tag me. If you have any questions about visual brand strategy, I'm happy to answer anything in the group and support the community.
Thank you so much.